massive clean this weekend. I got this shelf to put in my closet, and I think this is like another component of my room just finished. And so I have all my art supplies. I think this is my favorite shelf. I love that I just have this space and I can come in here and just pick up anything, and I don't have to move anything to grab an art supply. And that was my goal for this space, and having all my paints like this. And I think I'm going to start collecting these little jam cups or glasses, these glass jars. These are the Bon Maman, I think it's called. I think that says Bon Maman. I don't know. These are the fancy jam jars from Walmart. I buy them at Walmart, and I think I'm going to start collecting them just to use as water cups and just collecting pencils and stuff. I got this in Kelowna at the market. I talked about this in my last video. I think it's so cute. And it kind of blocks up the space a little bit, so it hides a little bit of what's behind it. These are some art supplies that I had downstairs in my old office. I don't use that space anymore, so I brought some of them upstairs. This one is a ceramic palette, and I got this in Japan. I got this at Tokyo Hands when we went to Japan. And I've mixed some skin tone colors. That's what I was using that for, and that's why I kept it. I don't really use this much, but I brought it upstairs because maybe I will now that it's up here. I have this box of goodies as well, and it has lots of erasers. I love the Staedtler plastic erasers, but these Factus erasers are amazing. They just seem to work so well. I've got an extra Posca pen and a couple extra Lamy converters and a kneadable eraser too, which I have had that for a while, so it might not be good anymore, but I figured I'd bring this little goodie box upstairs. That can go on the shelf. And I'm trying to figure out a palette to use for gouache. I've not painted with gouache in 25 years. That's crazy. I'm not that old. I'm not that old. When I was in college, we painted with gouache. Anyways, I'm trying to find a palette, and I thought that this might be good because it has these little wells, and it holds like a little bit of an amount. It's not just flat. It has so much mixing surface, but it also has like containers that I could store colors in that I pre-mix. And I've used this just for watercolor, but again, I haven't used this since I started watercolor like a long time ago. And these are all student grade watercolors in here. And I'm just going to rinse them out and use this for my gouache. Maybe I should just bring the whole jar. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to paint in this sketchbook I got in an art haul recently. Stillman & Byrne, this is the Nova series. It's got different colored mixed media paper. And I'm going to start at the beginning. I really want to use gray. And I've never painted in this. And I've been saving it. And I'm excited to try it out. My bird's all sketched out. It's kind of weird not paying attention to the details in the face, where normally I'm used to doing all of the details and making it almost where it's a final drawing. And I've just blocked in the eye and blocked in a little bit of the shadow shapes or the color blockings for his different color tones that shift. And I think otherwise, I think it's pretty good. I think it's enough to get me started. I kind of wish that the tulip didn't trail off the edge here. But I think as far as negative space, I think the bird sitting lower in the page implies that he's lower in the overall scene or the ground, which would make sense because the tulips aren't very tall, so maybe that reads okay. I think I'm going to try just painting him close cropped and no background on this one. This is the gouache set that I'm going to be using today. This is pretty much the only gouache I've ever owned, and when I bought this set I also got the 12 color set. This is mostly if I need primaries or white or black. These sets from Holbein are special edition series, and they're based on the seasons. This is winter, and you get 12 colors that are winter themed, and this one doesn't have white in it, so I'm definitely going to lean on this to just get those white colors and, again, any of those primaries that I'm missing. I'm just adding some colors to my palette. I have dark brown, russet brown, and this is Riku Gray, and I'm going to add some white. I am trying to decide the best way to start this. I think I'm going to start light to dark. I've been watching lots of videos on different gouache techniques and advice. I think I'm going to try to not mix colors too much as far as blending. I've heard that if you mix the gouache too much, like you would watercolor, it'll make it murky. And I want to avoid that. I'd like bright colors, bright solid colors. So I'm going to try and keep everything, move my little bird into the sun here. I'm going to try and keep everything very blocked in, and then blend edges as I need to. This bird has white on him at his eye, so I'm going to just add some white in this area. I really want to be bold with my shapes though. I want to make sure that everything is solid colors and not too washed out. I know you can water down watercolors. I don't want to do that. This is a look at the progress I've made so far. I feel like a few things. I've been mixing color on the paper, and only slightly, and I think I'm kind of getting the hang of it. In the neck area here, I color blocked more than, like, I laid down more solid colors. I did notice that when I preserved just a specific area for a lighter color and then worked around it, that color kept its intensity, versus down in the tail where I tried to add white or a lighter color back in and then it didn't look as bright as in here. I'm not too concerned about it for this painting because this area is the brightest part of the bird anyways. Under the tail is not as bright, but I did learn that keeping a specific area and just putting that color down and not putting a layer and then building on top of that helped to keep that color more saturated and more intense. So I'm trying to kind of preserve that idea, but it's basically just kind of, I'm fiddling as I go along and dipping into colors when they're still a little bit damp and dabbing other colors in. I'm going to do the eye next and we'll see how that goes. I pulled in a few other colors on my palette. I had to bring in some yellow because there's nothing in the winter set that's yellow. A little bit of yellow ochre as well. So these two little ones are the colors that I brought in from the 12 set. And I'm going to bring in a black, I think, because of the colors I have. Actually, you know what? I'm not. So these are the colors in the set. I think I might try doing something like a combination of this blue and this brown and see what I get. So I did use some of the blue, a little bit of the crimson, a touch of the browns over here, and mixed enough that I could get a black. So I used the black in the eye and then a leading into the beak, and I think it reads dark enough. I feel like it was probably a bad choice to pick a bird that has a gray head and paint it on a gray page. So I'm trying really hard to define this area without making it too obvious. I might add in a little bit of a highlight at the top, but I think it's coming along pretty good. I'm remembering now that I enjoy doing the details at the end once the base layers are in. I think the base layers are my least favorite part. I think my bird's coming along pretty good. I'm having a little trouble with the tail, and I think at this point I just kind of rushed it. And so it doesn't look anything like it should, and every time I try to paint over it, I'm just activating layers and it's making a muddy mess. And I'm, like I said, I'm over it. I'm going to leave it. So whatever, I want to go on to the tulip. I was asked if I would kind of give an overview of what I learned from doing gouache painting and how it's different from watercolor. So these are the, let me see, 4, 5, 6, I have 7 things that stand out to me that I want to mention. So number 1 is remembering that I don't need as much water on my brush as I do when I use watercolor. Just keeping the paints opaque is important, and when I'm putting them on the paper, I always feel like the paint's too thick and I need to water it down because I'm used to that. So keeping less water is very important. I can't get used to that for sure. The next thing is not being able to blend colors on my art piece because they'll turn murky. As I mentioned in the video earlier, I noticed that if I leave a space just for a certain color and I only put that color in that space, then it has a brighter intensity and it doesn't seem so washed out visually, like it's not as desaturated. Whereas if I try to paint a full space and then put highlights on top, that those highlights don't look as bright. I needed to be really careful and mindful of dropping water off my brush, which is really odd because I never thought of that, but I would rinse my water brush in the water cup and then I would bring it back to my paper towel, and if I went across my art, sometimes it would fall off the barrel like a water drop, and then all of a sudden it reactivates the gouache and creates like a swell of a circle, and I need to blot it, and then when I blot it, it takes up the paint, and then I need to repaint it, but I can't paint it because it's wet, so I need to wait for it to dry to cover it up. It's a thing. So definitely be mindful of dropping water off your brush. The other thing is remembering that I can't layer the colors like I can with watercolor. I'm used to putting down a base layer in watercolor, and then if I put a green, maybe I want to add a little bit of blue in it to make it kind of interesting, and I'll come in with some blue over top. If I do that in gouache, it's just gone. My green's gone and it becomes blue because it's opaque. Again, you can water gouache down and paint with it like watercolor, but for the most part, the thing that makes gouache shine is its opacity and how it looks more polished and finished in that way. So I didn't want to water it down, but just being mindful of, I guess, that I just can't be blending colors on my paper. I have to blend whatever I'm going to use and then bring it in and do details after. The biggest thing I think for me to get used to was being able to use the color white. You can't use white in true, I guess, I hate to say that term, but in watercolor painting. And just, I'm used to leaving space on the page. So when I could use white, it felt wrong. It felt like I was cheating. But I mean, I did use it. I used it. I took advantage of it. One thing I can mention that would be really helpful, though, is to take a picture of your sketch before you begin, because gouache will definitely cover up your graphite lines, and you may need to reference your sketch while you're working to see where you might have blocked out some things that maybe you covered up with some paint, so that's always helpful. I also found that I preferred the smaller tubes of paint over the larger tubes. I like that with the smaller tubes, I could put out less paint and you don't really need a lot to cover an area. I was quite surprised. I thought with working with thicker paint, it would take longer to cover up an area, but it didn't. It actually, or it would take more paint, it didn't at all. So those are my 7 things that really stand out to me, and I found them quite interesting, so I did want to mention them. I think my painting's pretty much done. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I did have a lot of fun painting this. Anyways, let me know what you think of this bird, and if you have any advice or tips or tricks for gouache, let me know in the comments, because this is new and I'd be up for trying some more stuff. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified the next time I post a video to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.